The night was electric from the moment fans filed into the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, as the Phoenix Mercury prepared to host the Indiana Fever in a game that carried not just the weight of two teams clashing, but also the emotions of two franchises trying to prove something in the heart of the WNBA season. And right from the tip-off, you could feel that this wasn't going to be just another regular season contest. This was going to be a battle of wills, strategies, and resilience. And while the Fever entered this game without their superstar rookie Caitlin Clark, who has been sidelined with multiple injuries, the question that everyone asked before the ball was even tossed into the air was, can Indiana hang tough without their floor general, their leading scorer, their cultural lightning rod? And from the jump, the Mercury seemed determined to make sure the answer would be no, because Kahleah Copper, the heartbeat of Phoenix's offense, wasted absolutely no time, stamping her presence, scoring 4 quick points with a combination of aggressive dribble penetration and mid-range touch, reminding everyone why she's one of the most explosive guards in the league. But Indiana didn't roll over. Instead, it was Kelsey Mitchell who stepped up, fresh off her all-star recognition and recent scoring explosions. And she showed that even without Clark, she could shoulder the offensive load, knocking down a deep jumper here, slicing through the lane there, and making defenders pay if they gave her even half a step. While in the paint, Aaliyah Boston, the reigning Rookie of the Year, was battling with everything she had against Natasha Mack and Brianna Turner, two players who made life difficult for her around the rim. But Boston's rebounding, positioning, and energy were exactly what Indiana needed to not let the game get away too early. Still, the Mercury had more answers. DeWanna Bonner, the veteran forward who once wore Fever colors, seemed almost poetic in her performance against her former team, using her length to secure rebounds and initiate fast breaks, climbing another rung in the WNBA record books by moving into the top 10 all-time in rebounds, which drew a roar from the Phoenix faithful. And even though Sophie Cunningham went scoreless in the first quarter, her hustle, her dives on the floor, and her constant chatter energized the Mercury crowd, foreshadowing the big role she would play later. So by the time the first quarter ended, Phoenix held an 18-10 advantage. Not a blowout by any means, but a clear statement that they controlled the pace, the boards, and the momentum. Yet the Fever's body language showed they weren't going anywhere. And as we move into the second quarter, the game opened up. Sophie Cunningham, who had been waiting to explode, did exactly that, finding her rhythm from beyond the arc, draining one triple, then another, and suddenly Indiana's defense, which had sagged into the paint to protect against Copper's drives and Bonner's mid-range game, was stretched thin, and Cunningham's shots sent the Mercury bench into celebration mode. The crowd erupted, and it felt like a dagger every time the ball splashed to the net on the other side. Kelsey Mitchell kept Indiana afloat with her shot-making, but the Fever struggled with turnovers. Phoenix's defensive rotations were crisp, forcing Indiana's secondary players into tough decisions. And when Boston missed a few looks, inside, the Mercury capitalized immediately, running the floor and scoring in transition. Natasha Mack in particular was relentless, crashing offensive glass, giving Phoenix second chances, and making Indiana pay for every defensive lapse. And by halftime, the Mercury had extended their lead, not insurmountable, but enough that Indiana felt the way to play without Clark, as their offense was a little too one-dimensional, and their spacing broke down under pressure. Yet halftime itself became its own storyline, as analysts pointed out that Mitchell had nearly half of Indiana's points, and that someone else needed to step up, Melissa Smith perhaps, or reserve Michaela Timpson, who had shown flashes with her hustle and rebounding. But in the locker room, what really mattered was whether the Fever believed they could mount a comeback. And when the third quarter began, Indiana showed a surge of energy, pushing the pace, trying to out-hustle Phoenix. And for a few possessions it worked. Boston hit a bucket inside. Smith got the line. Mitchell drilled a three. And suddenly the lead was trimmed. The Fever bench was up, clapping and urging the team forward. But Phoenix responded with veteran poise. Copper once again slicing through traffic to finish at the rim. Bonner drawing foul on a mid-range jumper and calmly sinking both free throws. And then, like clockwork, Cunningham spotted up for yet another dagger three. And just like that, whatever momentum Indiana had, Bill was sucked out of the building. Because every time the Fever threatened to make it close, the Mercury answered. And what made it worse for Indiana was that Phoenix didn't just rely on one player. This was balanced scoring Copper with her drives, Bonner with her leadership and boards, Cunningham raining threes, Mag doing the dirty work inside, and even role players chipping in with timely defense and ball movement. And as the third quarter wound down, Indiana looked gassed, still fighting, still hustling, but you could see the fatigue in their legs, and the lead stretched again, double digits and climbing. So when the fourth quarter arrived, the Fever needed a miracle, and they tried to summon. One, Mitchell once again attacking fearlessly, hitting a pull-up jumper over two defenders, Boston battling for offensive rebounds, and finally converting a putback, Melissa Smith hitting a mid-range jumper to remind everyone she's still a weapon. But Phoenix smelled blood in the water, and they didn't let up. Copper scored again, this time on a fast break created by a steal. Bonner pulled up for a clutch three that sent the arena into a frenzy, and Cunningham, by now fully in rhythm, drilled another long-range bomb, sealing the game for good. The Fever's defense simply couldn't rotate fast enough. Their help was a step late, their closeouts too soft, and the Mercury took full advantage, stretching the lead beyond reach. And in those final minutes, the story wasn't just about the scoreboard, it was about what it meant. Phoenix showing they're still a force when healthy and engaged. Indiana proving that without Caitlin Clark, they can fight, but not quite finish against top competition. And when the buzzer sounded, the final score reflected not just Phoenix's dominance, but also Indiana's grit in trying to stay afloat. The post-game analysis highlighted Kelsey Mitchell's bravery and skill, her ability to carry the offense almost single-handedly, Aaliyah Boston's continued development as a defensive and rebounding anchor, and Melissa Smith's flashes that showed why she's a key piece of the Fever's future, but also Phoenix's depth, balance, and experience, with Kalia Copper as the relentless driver, Diana Bonner as the steadying veteran leader, Sophie Cunningham as the spark plug sniper, and Natasha Mack as the gritty enforcer. And beyond the box score, the game carried storylines about milestones, like Bonner's place among the WNBA's all-time rebounding greats, about identity, with the Fever still learning how to compete shorthanded, and about belief, with Phoenix showing that if they play to their strengths, they can beat anyone on any night. And as fans filed out of the arena, the conversations weren't just about the win or the loss, but about the future, because for Phoenix, this felt like momentum, and for Indiana, this felt like a lesson. And as a sports analyst, you can't help but think about how different this game might have been with Caitlin Clark on the floor, how Mitchell's scoring could have been paired with Clark's playmaking, how Boston might have had easier touches with Clark drawing defenders. But that's basketball. You play with who you've got. And tonight, Phoenix had more weapons, more energy, and ultimately more answers. So when we look back at this game, it won't just be remembered as a regular season meeting between two teams. It will be remembered as a showcase of depth, resilience, and the never-ending drama that makes the WNBA one of the most compelling leagues in sports today. Because from the opening tip to the final buzzer, this game had everything. Star power, role players rising to the occasion, milestones being achieved, and lessons being learned. And in the end, Phoenix Mercury walked away with a victory. The fans walked away buzzing, and Indiana Fever walked away with heads high, knowing that the fight is still in them, and that when their young superstar eventually returns, the league better be ready, because games like this only harden a team's resolve, sharpen its edges, and prepare for the battles still to come. And yet, as the buzzer sounded and the teams walked off the floor, you could feel that this game was more than just one night's battle. It was a chapter in a much bigger story. The Indiana Fever, fighting without their rookie sensation Caitlin Clark, proved that their spirit is bigger than any single player. Yes, Clark has quickly become the face of the franchise, the engine of their offense, and the draw that fills arenas across the country. But basketball is never a one-woman show. Tonight, Indiana showed they can grind, they can battle, and they can test their identity even in the toughest environments. Kelsey Mitchell deserves every ounce of credit for holding this team together. Her scoring runs, her vocal leadership, and her determination to not let the Fever fold are exactly what you expect from a veteran who has carried this team through ups and downs. Mitchell isn't just playing basketball. She's building a culture. She's teaching younger players like Melissa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, and Michaela Timpson what it means to fight through adversity, to compete possession by possession, and to refuse to let excuses define you. For Phoenix, this game represented something else entirely: survival and resurgence. The Mercury have been through chaos over the last few seasons, injuries, retirements, and even off-court distractions. But when Kalia Copper takes the floor with that determined look in her eyes, The Mercury look like a team capable of rekindling their old fire. Koppa's explosiveness, her ability to score from anywhere, and her knack for stepping up in big moments with a heartbeat of Phoenix tonight add to the steady brilliance of Diana Taurasi, who continues to climb the all-time leaderboards. And you have the perfect mix of veteran experience and relentless hunger. And let's not forget Sophie Cunningham. She may not have